Well, hey everybody. Today I'm going to be engaging with a video from Bridgetown Church in Portland, Oregon, near where I used to live, about a very interesting announcement that they're making.
Hey Bridgetown family, want to share with you an important announcement for the life of our church. Sunday, March 24th will be the last time that we offer a full live stream for our Sunday worship gathering. We will continue to offer the full teaching from every Sunday worship gathering in both video and audio format. So you'll still be able to access, like you always have in the life of this church, every teaching from every Bridgetown worship gathering on video on our website or on podcast, wherever it is that you listen and get your podcasts.
So this is, if you're not sort of in the wider church world about what churches are doing, this is pretty countercultural, what they're doing. Sort of like bigger churches and influential churches have sort of gone the direction of the live stream just being bare bones for a couple of reasons. One of it is that it's considered maybe a first option for people who are looking to check out the church, to engage with a full live stream instead of just a sermon, but also because it sort of widens the reach of the church for people that can, quote unquote, experience church without showing up on a Sunday. So this is against the grain of what most influential churches are doing.
The vision of our church is in Portland as it is in heaven. And so I want you to know the heart behind this decision is to continue to live in line with that vision. That's always been our vision, and it always will be our vision. There was a time in the history of this church, as we navigated the complexity of a global pandemic, when offering our full Sunday worship gathering on live stream was absolutely essential for us to live out that vision together. And thankfully now safely on the other side of that complex time, a full Sunday worship gathering that can be viewed from anywhere and everywhere is no longer an essential toward living that vision. Should it?
So I like the way that he's presenting things here, because he's talking about the fact that this was something that emerged for them, at least for a specific reason. And it was because of when things were shut down during the COVID pandemic. And live stream was not something that was new to a lot of churches then, but for many churches, it became the only option for at least a period of time. For our church, probably for about 3 months, it was the only way that we were sort of engaging in that during that time. And one of the things we actually try to do, a lot of times I would say it, a lot of times our worship pastor, Andy Watson, would say this, probably just about in every service that we hosted during that time, where we kind of gave the message, this is not what we want, but this is certainly better than us not gathering. And it was a difficult line to walk, where on the one hand, we didn't want to communicate, we think that this is just as good as if we were gathered together, because we don't think that. And at the same time, we didn't want to be a downer if somebody's engaging with the video where we're like, hey, you're engaging with this video, but this isn't that great. But we wanted to sort of keep the vision before, similar to what they're talking about here of the idea of the church being gathered.
Come again? Would we consider reoffering a live stream? Of course we would. This simply isn't that time, and we're grateful for that. So this decision will affect different groups of people in different ways. So I want to address those different groups of people. First, for those of you who are here in Portland and consider Bridgetown your church home and might have benefited from this live stream when you're traveling or just unable to make it to church that Sunday or something like that, let this just be one more invitation to gather in person in local community on Sundays around the stage and midweek around the table in homes in Bridgetown communities. That has been the heartbeat of our church and the invitation from day one, and continues to be. It is our belief that the future of the church is ancient, and part of the ancient way of God's people is gathering together in person, in local community, to live out the way of Jesus. So you're invited to come and to do that with us.
So I love, first of all, just the pastoral heart behind this whole presentation. He's doing something, and their church is doing something that they recognize there's going to be a group of people who are not happy with this for a variety of different reasons, and other people that, whether or not they're unhappy, they just don't understand it. And so What they're not doing is saying, because there's some people who don't like it, we can't do this, because they're not treating their congregation members as customers, which is really good. And at the same time, they're inviting the church family to have an opportunity to have buy-in and understanding about why a decision is being made. And so that's really good leadership. And I love the way that he talked about the gathering together. One thing that we've experienced at different times, I remember when I was growing up, because my family was a very consistent church-going family. When we were on vacation, we would attend a church service in whatever area we were. Like that was just very typical for us. If we were on a vacation together somewhere, we'd find a local church and we'd attend. If we were out visiting family somewhere, we'd find a local church and we would attend. And that's what we've done with our family, that Karina and I have done. And it's been odd to me to see that there's people that do that, but there's a lot of people that doesn't seem to even be on their radar. And so they'll go on vacation, but they'll say, don't worry, I was watching online. Which to me, I think there's a positive of watching online, of saying I'm keeping up with what's happening in the church that I belong to. But also for me, I'd say, gosh, if I was given a choice, I would rather have you attend a church service in Tennessee or Oregon or Washington or Idaho or wherever you are. Just find a local church, gather with a group of believers. And if you feel like, hey, I want to keep up also on the sermon series that we're doing, that's great. You can listen to that sort of on the go. But it seems to have left people's radar that that's an option. And so hopefully in what he's saying, and even what I'm saying right now, it can return on our radar to say that this is a real option and it's a great thing to do.
And then there will be those of you who have benefited from the Bridgetown Livestream as a supplement to your apprenticeship to Jesus elsewhere. So if you have found the teaching of this church helpful as you attend another local church in another city or something like that, first I just want to say what an honor and privilege it is that something of what God is doing in our local community might be helping you follow Jesus where you are. And we hope that by continuing to offer the teaching, we can continue to supplement your apprenticeship to Jesus right where you are. And then finally, there will be some of you who are gathering together in homes or smaller communities, and the Bridgetown Livestream has actually served to be the primary expression of worship by which you have gathered together and tried to form community and apprentice to Jesus in a local group somewhere outside of the city of Portland. And again, I want to say first, I'm so grateful that something of the life of this church has helped you to follow Jesus and to form that type of community. And I want to give you a two-part invitation. The first is the sincere hope that by continuing to offer our teaching, that you would continue to be helped by the ministry of this church. But the second is a call to find yourself locally rooted in a community of Jesus followers in the local place where you are.
So I think that, again, I think that this is so well done. And I so appreciate the way that he is approaching all this. And part of what's going into this is that this church has thought through to whom are we called? And in this sort of digital age where we're putting a bunch of things online, there's a great benefit. I mean, there's great Bible teaching, there's great gospel-driven teaching that people can have access to all around. Like we have a wealth of it. It really is wonderful. At the same time, it can bring with it a temptation for pastors, for individuals, and then also for churches to sort of have a brand that they're looking to develop and to want to have that sort of like, hey, we've got people tuning in Missouri, and we've got people tuning in Argentina, and we've sort of got this wide reach. And what they're demonstrating is that they really prayerfully have said, the people that we are called to shepherd are in our community, and we want to benefit the whole kingdom. We want to benefit anybody on earth, but we're prioritizing the people that we're called to. And throughout most of human history, the church, there hasn't even really been much of an option on that. You could have them, put out books that they distribute, or tracts, or leaflets or whatever that they distribute. But for the most part, they were just focused on their local community that God had called them to. And so I love that they're doing this. And I love also what he's saying there about pushing people towards their local church, or towards a church in their local area. We are human beings that God placed in bodies. Being in bodies with other people who are in their bodies, that we're worshiping together, that we're face to face with, or that we're side by side with is going to be significant. But we're going to get into this actually post-Easter. I think it'll be like April 14th. I'm going to give a sermon that's going to be about a lot of the things that are addressed here. But I love the pastoral heart behind this and the ability for them to have clarity on saying, this is what we are called to, and this is what we're inviting other people to. And if we can benefit others, that's great, but we need to be in local churches and local communities. That's what God has called us to.
I hope that our teaching will continue to help you follow Jesus, but that you will also live this ancient way in your local place by finding a local community with whom you can gather and live out the way of Jesus, life on life with other people. Whoever you are, wherever you are, blessing and peace to you as you seek to be with Jesus, become like Jesus, and do what Jesus did.
So one other thing that I think is worth talking about in light of this video is just the question, and they're not addressing the question here, is just, should churches stop doing live streams? That they have chosen to stop doing their live stream. They were really clear. We did this because of the COVID pandemic. That was important to do during that time. We don't think it's important to do during this time. It does bring up the wider question, what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks to doing a live stream service? And even for our church at this point, we are continuing to do ours, although we have wrestled with it at different points to say, should we stop doing this? And we even took in the ideas of looking at it and saying, what is it sort of costing our team? And is there something else that our team could be doing better? And even part of the thought for us is because on any given Sunday, whether it's in the garage where we do some overflow or whether it's outside where sometimes we have people, if the service is too full, because of that, the actual doing to the live stream has not cost a lot of sort of man hours or focus or attention that could be given in other places. But for us, we've always felt like, all right, the part of the cost of us doing the live stream is it can end up just by its form communicating to people that we think staying at home and watching the live stream is just an equivalent to showing up on a Sunday morning and gathering with your church family. And so we've tried to be overtly clear throughout the time that we've had a live stream, that is not what we think. And we've even tried to, within the presentation of the live stream, invite people to engage with the church. And where we're at right now, we don't know what the future holds, but we've continued on and saying, all right, we're going to continue on and do this. And part of it, and this is part of what I'm sure they wrestled with, it's tricky to figure out how much benefit comes from taking something away. Sometimes you do decide, all right, we're going to take something away, not to sort of punish people, but because we don't want to facilitate a mindset or a behavior that we think is not good overall. So if they look at it and they say, all right, you can't automatically stop people from having a consumer attitude towards the church, but we are going to make an intentional choice to make sure that everything that we're doing is communicating that we think that taking in, church at home is not something that we want to facilitate in our people. We want people to gather. It is tricky for churches to figure out those sorts of things because I think with most good things that we do, there's a possible misuse of them. And so even right now, for me, I'm very positive towards this. This seems very, very well thought through. I don't think that they would say no church should do this, although I think them making this decision does sort of put other churches in a position where it's worth asking the question. It's worth saying, what are the benefits that we're deriving from this versus what are the downsides of this? And if we believe that this is beneficial enough to still do this, how are we working to mitigate the very natural downsides, which are that it communicates to people or facilitates people maybe frequently doing something that we would say, we don't want you doing that there's something better that God has for you. And he has us not sort of privately taking in church at our homes, but gathering with God's people so that we're blessed by them and so that we're a blessing to them.